Welcome back to the Dad and Daughter Podcast channel right here on YouTube. I'm Dad. How's your day going? Um, I may have come across a similar story to this a while back. You see, this was posted 4 days ago. Um, well, at least 4 days ago from the time of this recording. Brenden Deppa here, the guy on the right. Joe Nadich, the pitcher down here in the center, the small one. And the incident of Brenden beating the shit out of Joan right here on the left. All because he was in school supposed to be learning and she took his Nintendo Switch away. And, the 6'6" schoolboy breaks his silence after beating up female school aide. The hulking teenager who battered a Florida teaching assistant unconscious for taking his toy away has apologized after being sentenced to 5 years in prison. I've quickly thumbed through this, and it got down to the section where I guess gave reasons or excuses of why the judge gave him 25 less years, because he was actually facing 30 years for this. But he was only sentenced to 5 years and 15 years supervised probation or something like that. I've explained it in the last video about Brenden here. Brenden Deppa, then 17, left Joe Nadich, 59, with a concussion, hearing loss, and 5 broken ribs in a prolonged attack at Palm Coast, Montana's high school in February last year. Judge Terrence Perkins said he had not heard a word of remorse from the 270-pound teen as he jailed him last week, but Deppa's current tutor has produced an apology. He says the autistic student wrote while in custody. I'm guessing this is the beginning of it, but I deeply regret allowing my emotions to get the best of me and letting things happen the way they did, he writes. In a choice between letting this incident destroy, define, or strengthen me, I choose to let it strengthen me. Again, here's some photos of the beating, him sitting in court. The 6'6" pupil became enraged when Nadich asked a teacher to confiscate the Nintendo Switch. When Nadich asked a teacher to confiscate the Switch, I think that sentence might be a little backwards, but Deppa had been playing with. He called her a bitch and a whore when he learned of her request, spitting at her before following her out of a classroom and launching his brutal attack. Surveillance footage recorded Nadich completely limp on the floor after Deppa knocked her unconscious, but the enraged student punched her in the head and back and another 15 times before letting up. Nadich, a mother of 2, had called for her teenage attacker to be locked up for the maximum sentence of 30 years. Brenden Deppa's actions that day had caused me to lose a job that I had for almost 19 years, lose my financial security, lose my health insurance, she told the court. In his note, Deppa wrote, "I am extremely sorry for injuring Miss Joan so severely and I am happy to see the injuries I inflicted did not leave any permanent scars or bruises. But Nadich said she is unlikely ever to fully recover from the beating. Every day is a challenge, she said. I have to live every day since with the repercussions of it, the assault of it, whether it be hearing loss that I have, vision loss, or headaches. Nadich in court. Several injuries. And here's the apology letter. But the decision from Judge Terrence Perkins to give Depa 25 years less than that could have due with the exculpatory whatever, I can't pronounce that word, testimony that came from his mother and arguments from his defense team. Leanne Depa, his adoptive mother, said she had warned the school about her son's laundry list of triggers. According to her, electronics was his biggest trigger. Yeah, I really don't give a shit. You're supposed to be in school learning, not playing fucking video games. I had told the school that being hungry was a trigger, that noise was a trigger, that being told no was a trigger, that being corrected in front of other people was a trigger, and electronics was a huge trigger, she said on the stand. I would have asked that bitch, is there anything that's not a fucking trigger? Can you say hi to him without getting your ass beat? Okay, this may all actually hold some water, but to me, this is bullshit. Until any of this is proven, that I see it proven, I'm calling bullshit on a lot of this, if not all of it. Lawyers for Depa have filed a separate lawsuit against the school district for negligence, describing him as a ticking time bomb. Well, yeah, no shit. The letter, which tutor Jean Lopez, I hope, shared with News Nation's Ashley Banfield. Yeah, sorry, the sun's out and my screen is not really all that clear. Fingerprint smudges all over the place. Claims that what I did should not define who I am. The letter that I'm guessing Brenden wrote. Yikes. Get that mixed up with my daughter's name, Brenda. I made a mistake. One I will never let happen again, and I'm sorry. It reads. Yeah, time will tell on that one. Sorry. During my incarceration, I have learned coping skills to ensure something like this never happens again. I have grown and matured in ways otherwise impossible, making me not happy I have been incarcerated, but nonetheless grateful. Now, I'm also suspecting that while everyone, or even including this article, maybe also the last one, said that Brenden wrote this letter, until I'm told there's different degrees of autisticness. Like, I do know there is different degrees of Down syndrome. It affects, because I do know Down syndrome affects people with Down syndrome differently. One, because like I said before, Down syndrome, I've seen one person with Down syndrome. I don't know how it affected her, but she was still able to drive a car. The knowledge enough to keep a car on the road, drive safely, not no granny, but drive a car safely, obey the limits, obey the rules of the road, this and that. And another person with Down syndrome was not able to drive a car. Period. I guess just not being able to understand. I guess the understanding what's involved in with driving. What you gotta look out for, what you gotta obey, what you can and can't do. Basically, I do know that of Down syndrome, but I do not know if autisticness is the same for anyone who has it, or if it's different totalities. So I really doubt that, reading what that letter had wrote so far, I highly doubt Brenden himself wrote this. Maybe in part, yes, but not entirely. Pictures released after the beatdown showing gashes on the aide's cheek, bruising around the eyes, one bloodshot eye, a dent in her nose, and a tear at the back of her ear. Nadich said the worst injuries are internal and that the attack deeply affected her cognitive functions. Unfortunately, a lot of my injuries that are not visible, I'm going to have for the rest of my life, she said. Deppa's attorneys tried to turn it around on her, claiming that Nadich failed to address the autistic boy's unique needs and wasn't properly trained to handle them. Okay, so if that being the case, why, whatever. Just any excuses to get away with beating the shit out of somebody, right? How about that fucking defense team? Kurt, I'm not going to attempt that last name, one of Deppa's lawyers, reportedly referred back to a prior testimony that suggested the assault was a manifestation of his disability. It's not his fault, he said. Bullshit, it's not his damn fucking fault. He knew what the fuck he was doing. Judge Perkins didn't buy it. Very good. Citing the brutality captured in the video and adding that Deppa's attack on Nadich was not an isolated incident. It captures the senseless, extreme violence in a very troubling way, Perkins said, commenting on the video. His sentencing, Perkins also cited testimony from a state witness, a psychologist, who said Deppa knew what he did was wrong. Deppa's mother pleaded with the judge to let her son serve house arrest. Fuck you! What, is it this whole black man going to jail bullshit? Fuck that! I knew Brenden, and I knew Brenden, and I knew his triggers, and I knew his needs and his strengths, and I beg you to let him come home with me, she said. Boy, you know that lady ain't playing with a full load of bricks. Her son was sent to prison, described the verdict as a death sentence, and told reporters he was being punished for being black, large, and disabled. Yo, white bitch. He's being sent to prison because he beat the fuck out of his teacher's aide for no fucking reason. Try that out for size. He's scared, she told News Nation. To have your child call and cry and say, I don't want to die is awful. Well, maybe he shouldn't have done that. And he wouldn't have gone to prison. I mean, punching walls and lockers still somewhat, property destruction, but I don't think he would have gotten any serious jail time, if anything at all, for that, if he was to hit walls and lockers and whatever. But beating the shit out of somebody, oh yeah, he's gone. He should be gone. Once he finishes his 5-year sentence, Depa will be subject to 15 years of supervised probation. Yeah, I would love to see how that one's going to turn out. Well, because he's black. I hear black people use that fucking excuse. And I wish you guys got 10 years for playing. Automatic 10 years. No questions. 10 years. Automatic for playing the race card. This shit's getting old. But here's what happens. Anyways, I'm going to leave this pitiful story alone. Well, for now. And I'll catch you guys in the next video. You guys take care of yourselves. I'm out. Peace.